Hello there, it's Maria here with you today, and I am back for Kat Scrappiness to share with you a process video of those two cards I just showed you on the screen. I'm going to be using the Sweet Friends stamp set and dies by Lawn Fawn. I will also be using the new large alphabet dies by Kat Scrappiness. This is an amazing die set. It's good value for money and they are really good quality. So they are new to the shop, and you can check out all of those supplies that I use in the description box below. I am also going to use the double stitch heart dies, the distress edge circle dies, and the distress edge rectangle dies with the fancy scallop edge dies. I will also be using the VersaFine black onyx ink and some Nina Desert Storm cardstock. Since I have already colored my images here, because this is pretty simple, I will just go ahead and move on to showing you how I made the first card. I was just using my bone folder there to get a crisp fold on my card base, and then I am using a patterned paper also available at Kat Scrappiness. And then I'm going to use my fancy scallop edge die to just create that nice edge to my patterned paper. And since I didn't do a good job die cutting it, I was just using my scissors there to cut it out. I was just planning on the card design at this point, and so this is why I left this footage here, because even though I didn't use the hearts that I cut out using that doodlebug paper also available at the shop, I later on changed my mind because the pattern paper that I use for my card is already super busy, and so I didn't want to add more to it. That's why I decided not to use the hearts. Sometimes it's really hard to film a process video, especially when you're designing cards or doing scrapbook layouts and things like that, because if I don't have a design in mind, I just kind of go with the flow, but then the video is already too long, so I had to do a lot of editing here. But then I ended up liking the design of that first card, so here I am just adding some fun foam to the pattern paper. I purchased this fun foam at Michael's craft store. One side already has an adhesive, so I was just trimming it off, and then I'm going to pull the backing out and then adhere that fun foam to my pattern paper, and then use my ATG gun to add adhesive to the other side of that fun foam to give it some dimension. And instead of a white card base, I decided to use my Nina Desert Storm cardstock as my card base because those colors went well with the colored images. Since I use browns and beiges, then I thought it was really perfect to use for this card. I love using the VersaFine black onyx ink to add some details to my images. For example, stamping those cute smiley faces on the images because it's just really dark black. I also love using that to stamp my sentiment. So I'm just using my Tim Holtz stamping platform here to stamp the sentiment on the card, and then the first card will be finished. Now it's time to work on card number 2. I'm going to use the large alpha dies by Kat Scrappiness, and as you can see, they're very decent size. I also wanted to use a few letters as much as possible since they are already big. So I thought I was going to use the I and then the heart on the double stitch heart dies, and then the U. I'm going to use a small acrylic block to stamp those smiley faces on my s'mores. And then going to use my Nuvo liquid adhesive, also available at the shop of course, to adhere those s'mores on my card. I ended up not using that bigger heart. At this point I really didn't have a design in mind, but I wanted to leave that footage so that you would see my process. So what I did here was I die cut the distress edge rectangle dies, and then I also created a stencil by die cutting the distress edge circle dies on that cardstock, and then I'm just using my ink blending tool here to add some color I ended up doing this back and forth because I was a bit disappointed that I forgot to put a post-it note to hold it down, so it was sliding all over the place and it wasn't giving me enough color like that first one. So at this point in the process, I already kind of have the design in mind, and then I'm going to use my 3M Scotch foam tape to add some dimension to the alphabets and the heart. And then I'm going to adhere that s'more images on top of each letters as well as the heart. At first, I didn't really like the design on this card and I thought about not including it in this video. But then when I started looking at the card and the design and the colors and everything else, I ended up liking this card so much. I know both cards are very simple, but I really love how they turned out because you can make some really cute simple cards. These cards are not really meant for Valentine's Day. I know they have hearts on them, but I'm actually giving both cards to my friends. We all love s'mores and they are my best friends and they're super sweet, so I thought the images and the sentiment really went well with the cards that I created for you today. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the process video and found it helpful. If you like the projects that I made, please give this video a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all of your comments and I do read them one by one when I have time. I've been really busy lately, so I haven't had the time to respond to you. But please know that I read them and I love them, so please keep doing so. Please don't forget to use my coupon code Maria10 for 10% off your order. And I will be linking all of the supplies that I use in the description box below. Thank you again for joining me and for watching my videos, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Happy crafting!